Good morning. I want to talk today about streamlining our lives and why we would do that, and some really simple ways that we can do that. The primary reason why we want to simplify our life, streamline our life, declutter our life, however you want to say it, is so that we can focus on our relationships, right? So that we're not spending so much time on our keeping up with things in our life. So I would say that the single most important thing that you can do to streamline your life and to prevent yourself from chasing the day and from your time being used up so that you can't spend time on your relationships as effectively is your stuff, right? How much stuff you own directly relates to how much time you're going to have for the people that you love, right? And we live in a culture of a lot of stuff, right? And unfortunately, we're seeing a movement towards sort of minimalism, and I'm not suggesting minimalism. I'm just suggesting that we spend less time on our stuff. The only way to do that is to get rid of it. So we can learn to streamline, and there's some things that was really important for me early on when I had little kids to learn how to streamline my stuff. And there was a book that really, really helped me called Sync Reflections, which is how to live so that your stuff doesn't take control. So how to avoid just collecting stuff, how to get rid of the stuff that you have that you don't need, how to discern what you need and what's just clutter. It's a great book, Sync Reflections by Marla Silly. I'll put some links in the comments, actually. And the other book that is quite a new book that also I felt I was pretty far along in the journey, and yet I felt it still really made a difference in my life, was The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which came out a few years ago. And she has a different philosophy than the lady who wrote Sync Reflections, kind of an all-out purge. Let's just do a giant purge. I think both methods should work together, actually. We should do a giant purge, take 3 months off or 6 months off, or however long it takes, do a giant purge of our stuff, and then learn how to stay on top of it and avoid getting in that situation again, using Sync Reflections, and how she also sort of trains you how to effectively do housework so that you're not chasing the day all the time. So those two things are really important. Years ago, when I was involved in the Leche League, when my baby had babies, the sort of mantra of the Leche League was people before things, and that was such a simple expression, and I felt really important to really define what really matters to you, what your life is really all about, right? People before things. So the second thing that we can do to simplify is simplify education. I think the best example I can give of that is dictation. Using dictation, a 5 to 10 minute lesson every day per child, that covers all language arts right up until independent writing. It's a remarkable tool and a very, very underused tool. In the next couple of weeks, I'm not sure in the next couple of weeks, over the next month, say, I'm going away for 10 days. So over the next month, I'm hoping to do several posts on dictation with some videos on me actually doing dictation. I've solicited somebody's little kids to help me with that. So you can actually see what it looks like and how much you can learn from that. But it's just a method of streamlining all the language arts instead of separating everything out. And all of life is like that. You know, when our children are dependent learners, there's a lot of things that we can do that can be combined, or can be are naturally combined. You know, language and math and science and social studies, there's such a huge amount of overlap when they're small and dependent learners. And it's such a beautiful thing to offer them that and not bog them down with, you know, ticking off all the boxes and all the things we have to do. So one of the things that is one of the purposes, the purpose of education is to feed the mind and form the mind, right? That's the purpose of education. It's not getting through the material. And if we understand really clearly people before things, it's going to be less about getting through the material than it is about forming the mind and feeding the mind. That's our goal, really, as parents. And we do that when they're very small. We're not worried about getting through the material, because there's no curriculum. Well, there are preschool curriculums now, but in our minds, most of us want to just enjoy our little kids. So we feed the mind, inform the mind. We don't have to get through the material. Really important to remember that. The other area of streamlining that I think is absolutely vital for us human beings is busyness, and the amount of activities we put into our life. Okay, we put a lot of activities in our life, and activities are good and commitments are good. However, we really need to not overstep that which is good into that which is bad. Okay, so we could do 2 activities or 3 activities. You have to discern that for your own family, what the amount of activities is appropriate. But if you step and do over the line and do one more, then you start to create chaos in your life, right? And then one more, okay, I'm 3 activities over my limit. Now those can be actual things you've signed up for, or just things that you commit to every week that you didn't think through. Okay, oh right, I had X and X and X on this week, so now I've added in something else, and suddenly I've gone from this nice enjoyable week to the week from hell, because of what we've added in. And we have to, when we're thinking about our busyness and our activities, we have to add in buffer time for all the little emergencies that crop up in our life, right? The doctor's appointments and the trips to emerge and the kids getting sick and various things like that. We have to add, if we don't have any downtime in our life, then those emergencies are going to really feel like they're making our life chaotic, where an emergency we should be able to address that without feeling like our life is falling apart, right? Emergencies happen. Especially the younger your kids are, the more emergencies happen. So really what we should do is assess. This is a habit that I got into every summer when my kids were small, is take the summer and think, okay, what am I dealing with? What are the ages of my kids? What is the cooperation level of these kids? What is the various activities I would like to do? What are the things that are the non-negotiables? And what's September going to look like? What can I handle and still be a nice person, right? Really, that's what it all comes down to. What can I tolerate and still be kind to my kids, still, be civil to my husband? Hi, honey. And it's a great thing for us to be able to discern what level of busyness we can handle. And we kind of have to do that all the time. Sometimes you have to do that every afternoon. What am I doing here? So streamlining your life in all areas really is a matter of taking the time to assess what's going on. Okay, what's going on in my the stuff that I own, what's going on in the busyness I have, what's going on in the way I educate my children, and then decluttering. Getting rid of what is unnecessary. Decluttering doesn't mean getting rid of what you use and what is necessary. It means getting rid of what you're not using, what isn't helpful, what's preventing you from your real goals. And once you've assessed what's going on and you've decluttered what's going on, you need to develop a system. Okay, systems are really important. They don't bog you down. They give you freedom, right? For example, for us, we attached a lot of things to meals. Okay, so we're going to have a meal where that's something we know we're going to do every day. We're going to pray before our meal. That's part of our system. We're going to have our meal. We're going to tidy up from the meal. After the meal, we're going to do our sit-down work. So we attach things to the meal so that so we develop a habit and a system, right? Developing habits is the path to virtue, right? To developing good habits is the definition of virtue. Assess, declutter, and develop a system in all the areas of your life. You can do this, right? You can do this. The reason that we want to simplify or streamline or declutter our lives is because all those things take up space in our brain. And if we can free up some space in our brain, we have more time, more space in our brain to love the people that we love, right? We want to be loving to them. We don't just want to love them theoretically. We want to be loving and act loving. And so when we're freeing up space in our brain, it allows us greater scope to do that. So that is why we streamline. That's why it's important. It's not just, because you want a pristine home. It's not because you, want to have more time on your hands, more free time. It's really more free space in your brain. That's what it's all about. Love your babies.